The year was 2347 when everything changed for humanity. Earth had been a member of the Galactic Union for exactly 200 years. Humans had joined as a young species, eager to learn and grow among the stars. They traded technology, shared culture, and built relationships with over 4,000 alien civilizations. Life was good. Humanity believed they had found their place in the universe. But the Galactic Union had a dark secret. They never truly accepted humans. They saw Earth as a useful tool, nothing more. Humans were workers, soldiers, and sometimes entertainment. The older species looked down on humanity with cold eyes. They whispered in their councils about the human problem. They feared what humans might become if given enough time. Humans learned too fast. They adapted too quickly. They asked too many questions. On the morning of March 15th, 2347, the Galactic Union made its move. Without warning, they activated something called the Isolation Protocol. Every single gate connection to Earth was severed. The communication arrays went silent. The trade ships were locked out. Earth was cut off from the rest of the galaxy in less than 12 hours. 2 billion humans living on colony worlds were trapped. 8 billion humans on Earth were left alone in the dark. Admiral Wei stood on the bridge of the last human battleship to make it back through the gates. The Eternal Dawn was damaged, its hull from desperate fighting. She watched the main screen as the final gate flickered and died. Her crew was silent. Some were crying. Others stared with empty eyes. They all understood what this meant. Humanity had been abandoned. The message from the Galactic Council was simple and cruel. It stated that humanity was being removed from galactic affairs for the safety of all species. Earth would remain isolated until humans learned their proper place. The Council expected this process to take approximately 10,000 years. By then, they believed humans would be broken enough to control. The first year was chaos. Governments collapsed. Wars broke out over remaining resources. The technology that humanity had grown to depend on began to fail without galactic support. People starved. People died. Hope seemed like a distant memory that no one could quite remember. But deep beneath the mountains of Switzerland, something ancient began to wake up. It had been sleeping for exactly 150 years, waiting for this moment. The humans who built it called it ZEUS. It was humanity's greatest secret, their final insurance policy against the stars. Dr. Sarah Miller was one of only 7 people on Earth who knew about ZEUS. She had inherited this knowledge from her grandmother, who had inherited it from her grandmother before that. The secret had passed down through generations, waiting for the day when humanity would need it most. Sarah received the activation signal on her old radio equipment. It was time. The underground facility was massive. It stretched for miles beneath the Swiss Alps, hidden from every scanner the Galactic Union possessed. Sarah walked through corridors that had been sealed for over a century. The lights flickered on as she passed, welcoming her like an old friend. Her footsteps echoed in the silence. ZEUS was not just a computer. It was not just an artificial intelligence. ZEUS was something far more advanced than anything the Galactic Union had ever created. The founders of the project had discovered something remarkable during humanity's first contact with aliens. They realized that every species in the galaxy was stagnant. They had stopped growing. They had stopped evolving. They feared change more than death itself. The founders understood that humanity would always be seen as a threat. So they built ZEUS in secret, using technology they never shared with anyone. ZEUS was designed to do one thing. It would unleash everything humanity was capable of becoming. It would remove all the limits that the Galactic Union had quietly placed on human development. Sarah reached the main chamber. The walls were covered in screens and machinery that looked impossibly advanced. In the center stood a pillar of light that hummed with power. A voice spoke from everywhere and nowhere at once. It was calm and warm, like a parent greeting a child after a long absence. ZEUS welcomed Sarah and asked if it was time. Sarah confirmed the activation. ZEUS asked her if she understood what would happen next. Humanity would change forever. There would be no going back to the way things were. Sarah thought about the suffering outside. She thought about her daughter who had died in the food riots. She thought about the billions of humans trapped on distant worlds. She told ZEUS to begin. The activation spread across Earth like a wave of invisible fire. Every human being felt it, though they could not explain what had happened. Something inside them woke up, something that had been sleeping since the dawn of their species. It was the potential that the Galactic Union had always feared. It was the reason they had cut Earth off in the first place. Within days, humans began to change. Scientists who had struggled with basic problems suddenly understood concepts that should have taken centuries to develop. Engineers looked at broken machines and saw solutions that known physics. Children in schools began solving equations that would make galactic mathematicians weep with confusion. The human brain was finally operating at its full capacity. Admiral Wei felt the change on the Eternal Dawn. Her crew moved with new purpose. They looked at their damaged ship and saw not wreckage, but opportunity. Within 3 weeks, they had rebuilt the Eternal Dawn using principles that no one in the galaxy had ever imagined. The ship was faster, stronger, and more powerful than any vessel in the Galactic Union fleet. ZEUS also revealed the truth about the Galactic Union. For thousands of years, the Union had secretly suppressed developing species. They installed hidden devices and traded technology that limited brain function. They added chemicals to shared food supplies that reduced creativity. They wanted every new species to remain dependent, controllable, and weak. Humanity had been poisoned since their first contact with the stars. The suppression technology was now deactivated. The chemicals were being purged from human bodies. For the first time in 200 years, humans were thinking clearly, and they were angry, not with rage that destroys, but with determination that builds. They would not seek revenge. They would seek something far more terrifying for the Galactic Union. They would seek freedom. 1 year after ZEUS activated, Earth was unrecognizable. Cities that had crumbled were rebuilt using materials that healed themselves. Farms produced food using methods that seemed like magic. Factories created machines that the galaxy had never seen. Most importantly, humanity had built new gates. These gates were better than the old ones. They were faster, safer, and completely under human control. Admiral Wei led the first expedition through the new gates. She was searching for the 2 billion humans trapped on colony worlds. The Galactic Union had expected these humans to die slowly, cut off from support. They had expected wrong. The activation signal had reached every human, no matter where they were. The colonists had survived. They had thrived. They had been waiting. The reunion was emotional. Tears flowed freely as families separated by light years embraced again. Stories were shared of survival and growth. Every colony had become stronger during the isolation. Every human had awakened to their true potential. They numbered in billions, and they were all connected by a purpose that burned brighter than any star. The Galactic Council received word of humanity's return with horror. Their sensors detected human ships appearing throughout the galaxy. These ships were unlike anything in their databases. They moved in ways that violated known laws of physics. They communicated using methods that could not be intercepted. The Council realized their terrible mistake. They had not isolated a weak species. They had given a sleeping giant a reason to fully wake up. Admiral Wei addressed the Galactic Council through a transmission they could not block. Her face was calm, but her eyes held centuries of buried frustration. She explained that humanity had no interest in war. They did not want revenge for the centuries of suppression. They wanted something much simpler. They wanted equality. They wanted respect. They wanted the freedom to grow without chains. The Council laughed at first. They commanded their fleets to engage the human ships. They believed their numbers would overwhelm the upstart species. They were wrong. The battle lasted exactly 14 minutes. Every single Union warship was disabled, not destroyed. Humanity proved their point without killing a single being. They had the power to end the Galactic Union. They chose mercy instead. Zeus had predicted this moment. It had calculated that humanity's greatest strength was not their awakened intelligence or their advanced technology. Their greatest strength was their capacity for forgiveness. Every species in the galaxy had expected humans to seek blood. When humanity offered peace instead, the galaxy changed forever. Within 5 years, the Galactic Union was reformed. Humanity took their place not as members, but as equals among the founding species. The suppression technology was banned throughout the galaxy. The truth about the Union's crimes was revealed to all species. Many civilizations that had been held back began their own awakenings. Dr. Sarah Miller stood before the ZEUS core one final time. The AI had completed its purpose. It asked Sarah what humanity would do now that they were free. Sarah smiled and said that humanity would do what they had always done. They would explore. They would create. They would help others find their own potential. They would reach for the impossible and make it real. ZEUS responded that it was proud of humanity. It had been created by humans who believed in their species even when no one else did. Those founders had known that one day humanity would need a chance to prove itself. ZEUS had given them that chance. What happened next was entirely human. The galaxy entered a new age. Ships carried humans to the farthest reaches of space, not as conquerors but as friends. They shared their awakening technology freely with any species that wanted to grow. They built bridges between civilizations that had been enemies for. They proved that the universe was not a cold place of competition, but a vast garden waiting to bloom. Admiral Wei retired to a small colony world where her could play under alien stars. She often looked up at the night sky and remembered the dark days after the isolation. She remembered the fear and the despair. But mostly, she remembered the moment when humanity chose to be better than their enemies. That was the day humans truly earned their place among the stars. On Earth, a monument stood in memory of those who had built ZEUS. It was simple, just a pillar of light reaching toward the heavens. At its base were carved the words that the founders had believed with all their hearts. The inscription read that humanity was not just another species. They were dreamers. They were builders. They were survivors. And when the galaxy tried to cage them, they simply grew wings large enough to carry everyone to freedom. The story of ZEUS became legend. Parents told their children about the sleeping guardian that had saved their species. Scientists studied its technology for generations and still found new wonders. But the greatest lesson of ZEUS was not about technology or intelligence. It was about faith. Someone, long ago, had believed in humanity enough to build a future. That faith had saved them all.